Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth instalment of The Recovery. And this week I'm joined by the amazing Trisha Goddard. Hi Trisha, how you doing?
Hello darling, I put on a clean blouse for you.
So firstly, I want to put the myths to bed. People always go, why does Trisha Goddard answer everything that you post on Instagram? And it's like they don't really get the friendship thing. You know, I met you a year ago actually in Bryant Park and for lunch, and it was one of those moments where I was in New York. You messaged me and I said, "Oh, let's do lunch," and we went for lunch and we hit off straight away.
Yeah, it was very relaxed, and it was like, I don't know. I think we kind of get the whole head, soul, laughter thing. And I think a lot of people can't put those three things together. They're either all in their head with no soul, all soul with no brains, or no humour. So I think we've got all three things going. That's why we clicked.
And I think it's because we can laugh at our own mistakes. We can laugh at what we've been through, and we find humour in darkness, in our own darkness. Because a lot of people don't find that. They kind of, they go through trauma and they allow that trauma to completely dictate the rest of their lives, and they don't find the humour in it. And once you conquer something and you understand something, then you can make fun of it. That's the way I deal with it. I
agree.
I used to always laugh at things I feared, or I would laugh at things I didn't understand, or I'd make jokes about them. But when you understand something, you can really laugh at it. It's a real laugh. It's not like a So I want to talk to you about, I thought I had a checkered life. I thought, my life's so checkered. There's not many people on this planet that have been through what I've been through. And oh my God, Trisha, you've been through it all. You've been through the mill. I used to watch your show when I was using, and I used to think, oh my God, she's such a fucking know-it-all. Is there anything she's never been through? Because, it's like, it'd be like, any guest you had on your show you related to. And I'd be like, I'm just waiting for you to say, oh yeah, when I went through that, because that's what you did. And I used to think, I'm sure she's making it up. But you never. The reason you had that show is because you could relate to that trauma.
Yeah, I could. And, I think people were really surprised because there's not a lot of people in the public eye unless you are caught by the cops with your pants down, literally. There's not a lot of people who will talk about it. And I always did. And it's funny you talk about that humour, because that's where it started. I was like anybody else. I was a journalist. I kept my life pretty quiet. And I was doing a relationships sort of talk show in Australia. And my then husband, the father of my kids, was having an affair with one of my staffers. And I was a mess. But we did this segment, and I was interviewing this guy whose job, we were talking about dangerous occupations. And this guy's job was a diver. And he had to go and dismantle bombs under the sea in war zones, right? So I was asking him some question or anything like that, and he was saying, look, it's not a career you'd want anyone to do. And I said, oh, I don't know, my husband and his mistress, and they were standing there. And, and I was joking about this stuff, even as it was happening.
Yeah.
And that was the tape that they saw in England, a guy called Malcolm Alsop. And he said, I like you because you're joking about dark stuff that's happening to you. You can see the funny side, and that's actually what got me the job.
Well, I kind of think that, for me, that really goes in my favour. Like, I find the funny, the humour in so much darkness, in so much dark stuff, because it's there. And, I don't allow it to overshadow everything. And I kind of think that's why my popularity on Instagram and the way I am works, because I find that humour. I laugh at things that people think, oh my God, you can't laugh at that. But yes, you can. We've lived it, and we come through it, and we can laugh at it. Let's talk about the whole Trisha thing. The program and the end of the program. How did that affect you? Because you got ill during that as well, didn't you? You had
breast cancer. I got breast cancer.
How when you started the show? Because at that time you were like you were a massive name. Trisha was like daytime TV. Everybody loved Trisha. You were a black woman on TV in those days. How well was that received within the ranks of TV?
I don't know, because I mean, we were stuck in Anglia in Norwich, which is like another planet.
Yeah.
And the guy who came and headhunted me was the head of Anglia, Malcolm Alsop, and he became a great mentor of mine. So we were kind of in a bubble, and I changed the way the show was doing. I brought in mental health counsellors to work with the production staff and with guests. Rather than one counsellor, we had 3, sometimes 4. And so I changed the whole ethos, because I've been a mental health campaigner for, I was an Australian mental health advisor to the government for 10 years. So I was a campaigner from 1988. So I brought all that mental health stuff with me. So we were kind of protected from the rest of telly. The things I used to have to do, though, I mean, especially now with all of this, Black Lives Matter, when I look back on it, every year they used to have a television industry had a diversity conference, right? And the first year we went, there's about 6 of us. I think there was exec producer of Panorama, an Indian woman, maybe Trevor. There was about 6 of us. That's all they could get of the whole industry. And we'd have this whole room of black and ethnic minority people. And they basically just shout at us and say, why won't you give us a job? And we'd be on the defensive. And it was like, you should give us a job. You should give us a job. And we said, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, the next year they said, right, we're doing this black and ethnic conference. I said, oh, no, thanks. I don't think I will. And I said, no, you will do the ethnic conference. I said, no, it's all right, I won't come. And I said, no, you don't understand. You will do it, because legally we have to do it, so you will be there. So every year we used to go and sit there and just be shouted at. We try and tell these kids, you have to go to Norwich, and they'd say, well, and they'd put us out there to be on the receiving end of all these kids who'd done all the uni training, were disappointed. So every once a year they could come and shout at the 6 black people in the industry, and then everyone could tick a box. But the actual show, I never really thought about my colour, Tony. I really didn't. There were a couple of incidents. One where, and I won't go into detail because I don't even know, my kids don't know the whole details, but the special branch was so bad. And at the time, we had special branch come to our house and teach my kids how to open parcels in case there was something I don't know, like a bomb or something in it. Yeah, and we had safe places I used to tell them in Norwich where they could go if you feel something's going on. That was because of my colour, not because anything I said or anything like that. But the worst day was when, another time we were at home and an armed unit, and we never see guns, and watching television with my then husband, all this commotion in the drive, headlights, cops, flak jackets, armed unit around the house, banging on the door, are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. No, are you all right? Yeah, I'm okay. No, it's all right. Are you? Yeah, we're fine. So that didn't happen a lot, but it probably happened about.
It doesn't happen a lot. It happens once. That's more than traumatic. Let alone that doesn't happen a lot. That's crazy. Yeah.
And then you're told why it happened, and that's even scarier because you didn't know what was happening. You were watching telly, you didn't know what's happening. That someone rang up and somebody said this and what have you. But I didn't really feel that I was black because when I left ITV and I set up my own production company with my business partner.
Right. It's Channel 5, right?
I took it to Channel 5. I went to Channel 5, decided that in a day. So I was the boss and everything else. And then when I got breast cancer, it was my name it was my show. There were about 8 mortgages hanging off. I had to do the show. And I only learned after I had breast cancer, but when apparently somebody at the network, I'm not saying the whole network, one particular person had said, you do realise if you don't produce this show, we're going to fine you for every episode you don't do.
Yeah.
I mean, I had grade 3 breast cancer, and I was going after chemo. I'd be, we'll take this short commercial break.
I remember seeing pictures of you that someone had taken and they were in the paper. I think you might have actually, it might be in your first photo shoot after cancer, and you had shaved head and you dyed it blonde, I do remember. And I thought you
Yeah.
looked amazing. And I was just like, I thought, oh my God, she's so courageous. Because, you know, to go through that and do it so publicly, you know, most people had the cancer, when they get diagnosed with cancer, they feel their whole world's caving in, let alone doing it so publicly.
But Tony, I didn't want to. The world would still not know I had breast cancer. What happened was I got diagnosed. I found out and diagnosed. I went because I had a running injury. They said, when was your last X-ray? I said, I can't remember. She looked up. She said, you're due a mammogram. Made me book in the next day. Came back. Was diagnosed like that. They sent me straight to the hospital to go and have, you know, the next morning to have where you go into have you know, these radiation drugs come through. Somebody at the hospital saw me. Right, I found out the night before. Somebody saw me, and they go, Trisha, I'm in oncology in a patient gown. And before I got home, the phone was ringing, and it was the Daily Mirror news desk. We heard you're dying in hospital. They threatened, they had the story before I'd even told my dad or anyone. I was so, honestly, that's one of the reasons I left England. They said, we're going to publish that you're dying of cancer. I could not speak to them. I had to ring up people and say, you know, and tell people, because they were going to publish before I'd even knew myself. So, and then all the time through my therapy, my treatment, and this really affected my kids, and I only just found out how much it affected my younger daughter. We had people trying to take photographs. I had to be moved out of the hospital. The National Health Service said, we can't guarantee someone won't take a photo of you while you've got the chemo drip in your arm. We had to chase people away. So I had a bunch of friends come up, do my hair, do my makeup, and Nikki Johnson, photographer, they came up as a surprise to cheer me up, to do a photograph of me. And then we said, you know what? They weren't doing it for any money, and I said, you know what, let's do it, let's sell it to Hello Magazine. You guys get paid and kill the story, because those bastards, no one else is going to make money out.
Oh no, you know, the story would have just been turned into something so different to when you put it out there. It takes the power out of it, and you know, it's like there's no skeletons in the cupboard, so there's nothing they can write that you haven't said already. Because, I mean, back in those days, they still do it now, but not to the extent that they used to. I mean, they would build people up and they would then rip them to shred. And they, you know, I had friends whose lives were completely destroyed by the media. And, you know, and they don't give people a chance to bounce back, because for the next 5 years, that would always, whatever they did and whatever they went through, would always precede anything else that they did. So they had every single out that went to #1, it would still be junkie, blah, 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 always. You know, because that's the way that journalism was. And, you know, it was fucking terrible.
But they still love it. They still love a dying celebrity.
Oh,
I mean, that's how cool. They love a dying celebrity. Do you remember Jade Goody? Jade Goody's name was Dirt.
Yeah.
Her name was Dirt until she was dying. It's evil.
Yeah, because she went through that whole racism thing. But she got cancer, and that was suddenly because the world loves her again. All is forgiven. You know, it's kind of insane. What happened after Trisha? Where did you go? What did you do after the show ended?
Well, after the show ended, I got a call from the US, Maury's show, and they asked me to, because I'm trained in conflict resolution, so they asked me to come over to the States and do conflict resolution on Maury's show. That was probably the best 2 years, because they flew me over to the States, put me up in this massive hotel. I was earning stupid money. I do the Maury show and I loved it. But I really work hard. I do, you know, the amount of time I work with people is you only see a fraction on telly. So I do that and then go back. And then the ratings were so good, they basically said to me, you know, well, do you want to come over here and do your show? Now, that was 2012 by the time they said that. I did not know, Tony, if it sounds really dramatic, I did not know if I was how long I was going to live. After my breast cancer, I thought I had grade 2. I've only fairly recently found out I actually had grade 3. It was very aggressive. I had 2 operations, year load of chemo, radiotherapy, the lot. I lost my front teeth through it. I've still got problems with my eyes because of it. We've had a fight all these years for my eyes. I came off medication only after 10 years. I have something called lymphedema. But I'm alive. But at that time, I didn't think I'd make it.
But this is the recovery. This is what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd make it.
You come from there. When you're in a place where all you think that you're going to do is die, and then suddenly you get this gift of desperation. And of survival, of wanting to change and thinking, okay, I'm not going to die. I don't want to die. I'm going to do everything in my power. And you get that power back to get that power in itself, to change that thought process, because dying's no longer an option.
Yeah. But it can leave you in a bad, I mean, for me, all my life, ever since I was like, I've always had obsessions and ways of controlling it. It's either been cracks in the pavement. I can drive myself mad. I prefer to trail run, not road run, because I can be obsessed with cracks in the pavement and not standing on them, or number plates of cars, or 4. Sometimes I'll go through periods where 4 is a really scary, it still is. The number 4 terrifies me. So I can't have 4s and things like that. I've always had that obsessive feeling, and I've had not eating disorders, but eating distress. When I lost that, I will go through phases where I won't eat at all. And I only fairly recently, with my last divorce, went through that. And my kids literally saw me disappear in front. I went down to 00, and I just didn't eat. And then I'll be obsessive about exercising. So when I came to...
Go on, carry on.
When I came to get that whole death thing, you know, I just went numb. I went numb, and I thought, I've got to earn as much money for my kids. I honestly, Tony, the thing twice when I was in psych hospital, when I was going through that, what kept me going were my kids, because they're the first and second time I ever was in love in my life. And the first time I connected with another human being, because up until then, I did not trust any other human being. So I just had to keep going, but I didn't think I would live. And so I did things like spend stupid amounts of money. I had a Maserati, a special Maserati built from scratch. I've always been a car mad person. I always wanted a Maserati. So if I'm going to die, I'm going to get one.
Was that an obsession?
Cars. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then but I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. I allowed my ex-husband to just take control of so much money and do shit things with it, because I just thought, well, I'm going to die anyway, you know. And it was only when I thought, hang on, I'm not going to die, where's the bloody money gone? That's my kids' inheritance. And you know, I think for me, when you talk about surviving, I only actually think now that I'm recovering since I stopped working full time, because I was always a workaholic. Yeah. Exerciseaholic, workaholic, anything.
It's an interesting thing that you said workaholic, because a lot of people say it's my job, it's what I do. That, you know, I don't have a problem with it, but you know, you use on that you can be an alcoholic, a workaholic, a sexaholic. You know, anything that's holic is it means that you basically have lost control. And you think you're in control, but what it's doing is you're completely absorbed by it, because you get high from it. It changes the way you feel. And being a workaholic is exactly the same as being an alcoholic. Do you get what I mean? It's so many effects.
But you know what the difference is, Tony? If you're an alcoholic, everyone looks down on you. If you're a workaholic, they pat you on the back, because you've got all these people making money off you.
Of course you do. Of course you do, and that's why they want you sick. They want to keep you in that place fueling your addiction, because they're the one that benefit from it. It's the same thing where you've got drug addiction. All of your mates around you want you sick because you've got something to give them. And as soon as you get well, they hate it. They're off. They're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're gone because they hate the fact that you're no longer their supply of it could be anything. The party's over for them. And, they really want to keep you sick. It's like, we can go back to, let's talk about Judy Garland, on the set, The Wizard of Oz. They were giving her pills. They knew she had a problem. Yeah. They were fueling it because they want...
Michael Jackson.
All of them. There's so many people.
All of them. Yeah.
And, so let's talk about what happened. When you get these obsessions regarding number plates, cracks in the pavement, how do you overcome them today?
Whoa, that's a hard one. Well, basically, I don't run on the road. I try to run. I have to shift where I'm going. So I like trail running. And one thing that I've changed since I got my breast cancer diagnosis is I realised I was just I was training 3 times a week. I was just running, and I couldn't tell you where I'd been. I'd be like, oh, I'm here. Yeah. So now, thanks to phones, I take photos. And I actually find social media helps me because I'll take a photo of something and it will make me stop to think, oh, what can I take a photo of? So I've actually got to look for it. And so I run down by the beach, I see deer, or I remember the first time after I'd been diagnosed and it was sleeting and everyone was like, oh my God. And I remember just standing there and it was stinging my face and I thought, please, 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 I want to feel this more. And then I suddenly, after a while, I was thinking, I want to feel. Duh, that's a new one, So now I like to feel, even if it's feeling out of breath or feeling like I'm going to puke my guts out if I'm running. Because before, I never stopped. I never felt. I could keep going with injuries. I was never there. So that I overcome it that way. This whole lockdown has been brilliant to stop my spending.
Yeah, and so well, it's like anything. We put down one obsession, we put down one addiction, and another one rears its ugly head. And it's always the yet that gets us. People go, oh, I don't have a problem with that. And I always say yet. Because you know what, to me, I never had a problem with alcohol until it ran out. I never had a problem with drugs until it ran out. I never had a problem with money until it ran out. Everything has to run out until I actually realised I had a problem with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And with this lockdown thing, spending is a big thing for me as well. I like to go and buy whatever I want. And like, if I buy one pair of trainers and I love them, I'll get them in 4 different colours. Then they will go under the bed and never see the day of light.
Yeah. And have you ever bought things again? I've bought things again.
I really like them, so I'm going to go buy them again so I can keep wearing them. Yeah, I have like 6 different pairs of white, the same brand trainers in the cupboard that I've bought.
Oh, I have to show you. These Hoka runners, I've got like 30 or 40 pairs. But it's the same. It's exactly the same. But I bet you're like me. If you've come up from a working class family where money, we used to eat meat then, but 6 pieces of ham in the fridge, and got 1 piece each. Do you know, whenever we used to remember those bounties and crunchies, if we got a crunchy, whoever cut, my parents, we'd have to cut it in half. There's four girls, there were 4 sisters. So we had to cut it into 4 pieces. Whoever cut it got to choose last. So you made damn sure they were equal. Yeah. I remember my mum took me to see a movie, and I can remember now, it was Sealed with a Loving Kiss with Mark Lester. And I must have been about 13 years of age. She took me on her own, and we sat in the cinema, and she gave me, I'll never forget, a picnic. But I sat there in the pictures with my mum with this picnic. And I remember I was sweating because I was trying to break it. My sisters weren't there. It's the first time in my life I've been anywhere, just her and me. I'm trying to break it into 4 pieces and get it equal. You know what picnics are like. They'll cry. Yeah. My mum, what you doing? And I said, I've got to do it for my sister, so that others can have. Mum said, no, does he have the whole thing? And I remember I ate the first bit. I felt, okay, Tony eating the other 3 bits. The guilt, because I'd never had a sweet to myself, right? So when you come from that background where there's 6 pieces of ham, 1 each, and you get a beating if you touch somebody else's because there's no other food. When you come up like that, when you've got money, I get nervous if my fridge is not rammed full. If I haven't been shopping, you know, new clothes, because you got new clothes. It's when you come from nothing, 100%. Money is like the god, isn't it?
I said, you know, this morning I like literally got dressed and I went to get out of the house and I thought, oh my God, I'm sick to death of looking like a tramp. Wearing Yeezy trainers, Comme des Garçons shorts and a Gucci t-shirt. I'm sick of looking like a tramp. I mean, what the hell? I mean, it was a fashion crisis. That's what it was. It's just like the fact that you know, this lockdown's taught me so much about not taking things for granted. I was spending so much on taxis, spending so much money on restaurants, all of this stuff. And you know what? I know, I can say now, hand on heart, I will not be going back to that lifestyle.
You know what? There was one time, because without going into detail, I was left and I was fine. I lost a lot of money through my last separation divorce. And it went through, and I couldn't work for a while. I don't think I had a breakdown, but I lost all of the weight and I was just not in a good place. And I came back to England to work one summer, and I moved in. One of my older daughter was with her boyfriend in Gravesend. If you've ever been to Gravesend.
Yeah.
The name, it's where Pocahontas died.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Anyway, so I stayed in a young couple's basement, 1 room, for the whole summer. And it was ridiculous. I was doing BBC Radio London. I was doing all of this. I was so skint until I paid off. I had some fines thanks to somebody else. And I had to get my funds up again. And I had to start getting the train again. I know what you mean about Uber and taxis. I had to start getting the train again. Well, this will make you laugh. So the first time, after years of having a driver, you know, I always had 3 cars: Range Rover, Mini, Jag, Maserati, all these cars at once. So I come back. Anyway, I hadn't got a taxi or a driver or anything like this. And I went and did I'm always doing courses. So I did a video technician's course. And I'm in the middle of London, and it's 10:30 at night. I don't know where I was, somewhere near London. I don't know where I was anyway. So I get on the bus. Don't laugh at me. I don't remember I'm living over here. I get on the bus and I said to the bus driver, oh, hello, could I have a fare? Yeah, I thought it was so exciting getting on a bus. I hadn't been on a bus for like 25, 30 years. Could I have a fare, please, to such and such? And the guy said, yeah. He said, well, just tap there. And I said, tap what? Tap there with your card. What card? Oyster card. What's an Oyster card? Well, contactless payment. Well, I've got money, she says, getting a Chanel. I've got money. He said, we don't take money. And I was like, well, what do you do? And I said, I haven't got one of those cards. He said, well, you can't come on. I said, it's 10:30 at night. So he said, sit there, love. So I sit there. And every stop, I said, is this it? And everyone of us would go, no. Finally, we get to the train. And I said to the girl, I phoned up the girls. I said, they don't take money. There's this funny thing you tap. And they go, mother, you twat. It's like contactless card. So I get an Oyster card. And then every time I went on the tube, I went up to the tube first time I used it. And I went, I'm touching it. And it works, and the barrier opened, and I was like, oh, people looking at me like I was mad, Tony. Yeah. I started using the tube again. I started walking. Mm-hmm. You know, I got buses in places, and people used to look at me and say, you know what, you look like Trisha Goddard, but there's no way you'd be on a number such and such to do. So you can't be you.
I very rarely get the tube. I hate being underground. I hate that whole. I find it so dirty, and it really plays havoc with my OCD. And the noise, I can't deal with the noise. I'm in a carriage, and suddenly the train will start screeching. It freaks me out.
I know.
But when I do go on it, I'm like, oh my God, how quick is this? Do you know what I mean? I mean, keep 10 minutes, and I can't work it out. How? It's like, what is this wizard?
Yeah.
Because normally, if I have to go to King's Cross to get the Eurostar, it will take me 45 minutes from my house in a taxi, and I'm quite comfortable with that. And David, my partner, will sit next to me going, we should have got the tube, we should have got the tube. And it always ends in an argument with me saying, why didn't you get out? You're really ungrateful. And I will say it, like, you know, but we should have got the bloody tube. And I would be there. I'm not going to take this stuff because I'm stuck in taxis. That's going to be a no-no from now on.
But that drives me mad. Now it makes me anxious.
Yeah.
I mean, I just rediscovered the Heathrow Express and the Gatwick Express.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why I've sat in those motorways with ulcers for so long.
I live in Pimlico, which is near Victoria, which takes where the Gatwick Express is. Now I get a taxi which takes an hour and a half, but I can walk down the road and be there in 20 minutes. But you know what? It's like 6:30 in the morning. I don't want to walk 200 yards to the train station. I would rather be in a taxi. Just, you know why? So I can sit on my bloody phone and feed my media addiction. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Skipping from.
No, I can't do it anymore. 3
different apps. Skip, all the way to Gatwick and wonder why I'm late. And then when I get there, I'm like, why am I flying from Gatwick? Not, I'm so grateful to be going away. But like the whole freak out about Gatwick. So grandiose. It's insane. I know, 13 years ago, I didn't have the price of a bus fare. But now I'm, moaning because I have to go from Gatwick. It's insane.
But I've gone back, though. I've gone back and I've stayed. I know I will stay there. I mean, my boyfriend, who I call #Boo. #Boo comes from a totally different world. Businessman, money. And I'm like, he can't get me because, I mean, I own my house. He can't get me because I rip the piss out of him. He's got this bloody great, he's got the car, we're about to get a boat and all of this. And I'll say to him, no, we're not eating out, I'm going to cook. And I will cook all the time. And that's the only thing now. He reminds me of how I was then. He's not as bad as he was, but I had to make those changes. So in a way, it was a blessing, the ex costing me so much because I had to get real.
Do you think this one's going to be husband number 4?
I don't know. My girlfriend said, you're addicted to wedding cake. But I don't know. You know what? The nice thing is there's no babies, there's no kids. There's no, he doesn't need me to work to keep him in the, I don't have to buy him a car. Husband, I don't have to buy a car. No, cars for a holiday.
The good thing about wedding cake is if you take the alcohol out of wedding cake, what are you left with? Fruit
Go
cake.
on.
The kind of that people always say, I am a complete fruitcake, and I think the connection with you is because you are as well. And I'm a complete.
You ask my kids. My kids are like, anybody else. I mean, I'm 63 in December, and like I did dancing on ice, right? And I said to my kids, I'm going to do dancing on ice. I go, oh yeah. They're like, oh yeah, and I say, oh, I'm going to get back rollerblading, so I'm rollerblading. My kids are like. My kids think that's normal.
I think that's amazing. I think it's really cool. Let's talk about your kids actually, briefly. One of them's LGBT, right?
Maddie, the younger one,
right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. She does male drag, and she's got there without my help. I'd love to give her name, but she doesn't like people knowing that I'm her mum. But she's been featured in Italian Vogue. She was always different. I knew she was queer before. I remember we were on a march, for National Health Service, and it was pouring with rain. It was a couple of years ago, and she sat down and she's on her phone and she went, "Oh, great!" And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Oh, the person I'm seeing has just found out you're mum. You're my mum. Oh no!" And I said, "What is this person's name?" And I looked at her. I didn't say, "What's his name?" Yeah. She dated a guy before. That's what is this person's name? She looked at me and she said this girl's name, and we just carried on. And she said to me later, "Oh, Mum, you were freaking out." I said, "Yeah, I was, because I actually at that stage didn't have enough money to buy us the cup of coffee, and we had to go halves." But no, I was like, her sister and I were like, band, you know, because you kind of know before that. But she's an LGBTQ plus mentor in the National Health Service, because she's been on the front line for this COVID thing in their mental health teams. And the older one, Billy, has had her struggles. She's been really open about her mental health issues.
Yeah, she has. I've spoken to Billy, yeah.
Yeah, you've been so good to Billy. She loves you. She loves you because your journey with and her journey with addiction as well has been similar. She's also a kick-ass PR person. She once headed up a division for Amazon, doing all their publicity. She's worked for Malaysian wealthy families, Liberty people, all over the place. So they're both high achievers.
They're both as proud of you as you are of them, and
yeah, we're a good team, tight team.
What, being a mother of an LGBT child, you said you never, you kind of always knew. What did it change anything when you found out?
No, I was happy for her because she was bullied so much at school. I swear I spent most of my life in that bloody headmaster's office, and she was a high achiever, top all the awards, such and such award, Maddie, you know, but she was never accepted by her peers. She was always different. And I always knew. Yeah, I knew she would grow into herself, if that makes sense. That she'd find her, and she was always the younger one. She's very bright. I mean, she's only 20, she's just gone 26. She's got 3 degrees. She's always done, you know, she's always been really bright, but I knew she would meet people who were her peers.
She'll find a
place, and she has, and she's still doing that journey. She's still learning. She's still having a heart broken and what have you. But for me, I mean, honestly, Tony, I worked with the Terence Higgins, you know, in Australia. I did gay and lesbian Mardi Gras. Their de facto godparents happened to be a gay couple, one black, one white guys. So, you know, I've always kind of been in that world.
Really, realistically speaking, you should actually be a gay saint by now. Do you know what I mean? You know, we've got Elton, we've got things. You really should be a gay icon as such, because you really are. Even back in when I was watching Trisha in those days, you were a real advocate for our community, and you always have been. And I just think it's so wonderful that you got a daughter that's on my gang. I just think it's incredible. And you know, if anyone should have an LGBTQI plus child, it should be you. Do you get what I mean? Because you deserve it. It's like an award. You won a BAFTA, you've got the LGBT daughter. It's amazing. I mean, let's talk briefly about what's going on right now without going into it. You know, with the whole Black Lives Matters thing. You said about when you were at school, you know, that you got picked on, you were getting bullied, and you used to hang around. For me, I was getting bullied at school for being gay, and I went and hang out with the toughest black girls in the school. So you went and hang out with the white guys. I went and hang out with the black girls. 3 girls: Marcia, Sandra, and I'm trying to think what the other one was called. And anyway, so Marcia and Sandra were the toughest girls at school. And I hung out with them. We were like the gang. And it's like, and suddenly the bullying stopped. And it wasn't about their colour or anything. It was just the fact that these girls were seen as the most senior troublemakers. And I was drawn to them, you know.
Yeah.
And I kind of just think, you know...
so we didn't have that because there were just no other black people around, like in the 60s and the 70s, and in Norfolk in the late 60s, early 70s. And like, do you know what gets me? I was interviewed by a black journalist once, and she said, why have none of your partners ever been black? Why did you never date black people? And I said, well, number one, in Australia, I was black person number 305 that wasn't Aboriginal to come into the country. There were no black guys around.
Yeah.
Another thing is, growing up, we were the only black people we knew, anybody knew, for miles around. I've always been somewhere. The reason I was the first black person on Australian television is I don't actually see myself as black until somebody gives me shit about it.
Yeah.
You know, because I had no black culture, as it were. You know, I went to a posh school and I'd speak like this. I mean, my daughters are more connected with black culture because when I was growing up, you wanted to be as English as possible to bloody survive.
Yeah.
You know, I'm learning a lot through my kids, and they've learned a lot through me about using humour and what have you, and you know, we learn from each other. But you know, this Tony, the first time in my life, all this stuff going on now has really got to me. It doesn't usually, and I think that's because of social media.
Yeah, I think it's got to. I think it's got to everybody, anyone who has a heart. It's got to. And I can't think what it's done is it's woken up so many different feelings in people because people think, hang on a minute, am I racist? As a white gay man, I sit at home and I think, hang on, have I been racist? Are my actions racist? What I'm saying is it going to be taken in the wrong context? And you know, yet again, it goes back to that education. It's about learning.
Well, we don't have any other education. I remember at my school, when I was in the sixth form and we were doing religious knowledge, and the teacher said, well, when David Livingstone went into Africa, he took bright beads because that's what the locals like. Trisha, you like wearing bright colours, don't you? You're obviously the only black girl there. But we would never got any education about, you know, black history or what have you. Only now as an adult am I getting that. And you know, it is a very different situation here in the States as it is to England. But you know, with telly, I mean, I didn't realise what an impact I had when I was doing my show. I was just doing my show. I get letters now from celebrities, from Edward Enninful. I can't believe it. He said, I'm a fan. And I was like, how do you even know who I am? And he was like,
Edward knows who you are. Edward's working class. Edward is a working class black guy that exactly the same as all of us, has built up and come up through the ranks. One of us has worked his way up to where he is today. Of course he fucking knows who Trisha is. We all know
but you know what? I'm always shocked because I can't believe it. Somebody here, they're doing David Walliams's book, The Boy with the Dress, or that book. And somebody here said, hey, are you the Trisha in this book? I'm in books. I mean, like Mark Bingham, the author. I'm reading a book and it's about me and Coronation Street and League of Gentlemen and Shaun of the Dead.
Both selected before we go any further. So, so for me, right, you know, when I saw you in Bright Park, you walked towards me and I was like, Trisha in the house, make some noise. I mean,
Selector.
Of course you did. But you know what? For me, it kind of, I loved it. I loved the whole, you know, the whole stupidity of it. But you know, Craig David said it ruined his life.
I can understand that.
But, I mean, for me, I would never know who Craig David was if it wasn't for Both Selector.
But let me tell you, my kids were so bullied because of that. I hated it because blackface and the big lips and everything. It's weird you mention that because Keith Lemon, Lee Francis posted Black Lives Matter, and a whole load of people have got on there and said, what about, really? Seriously? You need to apologise.
All of
Mel
all
of those, you need to do, and he shut his comment down, and it's building and building and building. People like to saying, you know, part of it is reconciliation and saying, you know what, I've changed, you know, I learned something, I'm willing to learn something that wasn't right. And so they're saying, what about this comment? And it's this massive, in the last, funny you should say that, because in the last 12, 24 hours, there's more and more and more people jumping on social media saying to him, hello, what about this? Because I think the younger generation's not taking that.
Well, you see, there you go, there you have it, because I never ever looked at it as being blackface. I never ever looked at it as it being wrong. I looked at it as someone impersonating Trisha and doing the Rice and Peas thing. I didn't ever think, oh, that's racially wrong. But
Tony, I hated it.
But that I have to apologise for, because I never saw it in that light, because to me it was never an issue about that. But that's where I needed to be educated. And the fact that you said that made me realise, made me think, okay, I've got a lot to learn. because that is wrong. And on every
But
level.
you know what the good thing is? When somebody says just what you said, when they shut you down and go quiet, because it wasn't a horrible remark on his thing, I just pointed out to him, it was, I never said, and if I said anything, people are like, lighten up, it's a joke. Oh, can't you take a joke? You know, but it was the blackface, it was the Jamaican, and I'm not Jamaican. It's thinking of all, you know, and it was the royals and the whole thing and the big bum and everything like that. And in Norfolk, yeah, and kids would just tease my kids to hell about it. See, and I didn't know how strong they felt until now.
See, I never even, you know, I just thought of it as, okay, that was what blah, 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 you know, Lee Francis did. And, you know, but the repercussions and the consequences of it, I never ever would have thought of that. So by me seeing
well,
I've now learned and thought, hang on a minute, but she's so right, that was so wrong.
But, you know, I saw Lee at the National Television Awards not long ago. Well, and he came up to me, and I can't have anything to do with him. I saw him once with Emma Bunton at the airport. Do you know what? I can't, because all these emotions come up, and I'm not impolite, and I'm not going to have a scene. I have to walk away. Yeah. It affected me, and I know it affected Craig David badly. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the sexism part didn't affect Lorraine Kelly, but I can't speak for them, but I know Craig David and I were really affected by it. But I had to just smile and grin and bear it, because if I dared say anything, it's like, oh, come on, you've got no sense of humour. Yeah. You know, if he'd done a Jewish character with a big hook nose talking about money, yeah. I'm, you know, hello, what is the difference? You know what I mean? So, and I can't believe that Channel 4 commissioned that. If anyone wants to know, is there racism or what about lack of diversity in television? Hello, you know?
The same as in Britain, though, when they did, like, you know, David and what's his name, the other one? Matt did Little Britain, and, you know, then they did Come Fly With Me. And there was, like, 3 different blackface characters in that.
I know.
And it's like, you know, and then they're talking about bringing it back. It's like, hang on, how can you bring that stuff back and make it okay now?
Exactly.
It wasn't okay then. I remember I used to watch it. I think, oh my God, it's actually shocking. Like Matt Lucas playing a big black woman that works in the shop.
I know.
It was just like, what the hell is going on here?
Exactly.
And that was only like 10 years ago, right?
Exactly. No, it wasn't a long time ago. And nowadays, though, it's not as overt, but I still think, I mean, nowadays you've got more characters in soapies and what have you. I still think there's a long way to go. When I talk to producers, and I'm trained as a producer myself, about what's happening here, it's all we want is the riots. All they want is what to perpetrate, that whole angry black person, they're going to come and burn you out of your house. They don't show the pictures of the people. 99% of it's peaceful.
There's been some amazing images come out of it, of, you know, like an amazing image where there was all these black guys surrounding a white police officer protecting him.
Yeah. Oh, you don't see that.
Yeah, and, you know, and there's been some really beautiful images. And then I've seen this other stuff where there's been guys getting out of cars with sledgehammers, smashing shop windows, getting back in cars and driving off. Suddenly, piles of bricks being placed in riot areas, you know, and then suddenly appearing overnight, a pile of bricks for no reason. And all this stuff that incites, and, you know, they kind of want you to be on their program, to be the angry one. That's what they kind of want. And it's kind of just like, you know, we live in crazy times. We really do.
We do. We've got to chip away at it.
It's nothing new. The craziness has been going on. It's just been brought to the surface.
And because of, again, social media and camera phones and all of that sort of thing, we're seeing now. And that's where television has got to be careful. You know, television audiences have gone up because of Corona, but they were dropping like a stone before. Yeah. And if television doesn't learn that now we can do things like this, now we don't actually need them to talk about what we want to talk about. If they don't get with the program, if they don't start not giving people what they think they want, but actually giving people what they really do want, they're going to go back to losing viewers.
Oh, 100%. I love you. Yeah. I love you. I love everything you stand for. I love that you comment on everything of mine on Instagram. I think more people love it. I think one of my highest ever liked memes was the one where it put there are three certainties in this world. You know, and one was, number 3 was Trisha Goddard will comment on a DJ Fat Tony post. Someone actually sent me that, and I had it for weeks, and I posted it, and oh my God, the uproar that it caused! It went on for days, and then the same guy sent me the same meme, but it changed number 3 to number 3 was that DJ Fat Tony will never credit you for a meme you sent him. I'm going to post it at some point this week with "No shit Sherlock" written on TV. You know what? I love you, and I love the fact that you're back on our screens, and I love the fact that you have a voice and you believe in what you believe in, Trisha. And that comes from a place of recovery. It really is a place of recovery. You're recovering your career. You're recovering who Trisha is, and it's magical to see. It really is.
Oh, bless you.
It really is. It's magical, and it's just like, you know, yeah. I love you.
Well, you too. And again, thank you with Billy, and, you know, and I think that I love that you pay it on, you know. I always say somewhere in our life, something happened. Somebody helped turn that switch. That there's that one moment where you see the light, or you might have lots of moments, but then so many people just keep that to themselves. And I think it's really special with people like you. What you've done is you've got no problem in paying it on. Yeah, okay, can I help that person? Cool, because somebody did it for me, I'm going to do it for them. And, you know, Christ, if everybody did that,
you know,
sounds like the world would be a better place.
Having life by giving it away. And so, and what I've had given to me and the help that I was given, it's my given to give it to somebody else. And
yeah, I agree. I do the same.
When I meet people, and there's people that stand for a cause and stand for who they are, whether it be about Black Lives Matters or whether it be about mental health or any of that stuff, because they understand it, and that's their truth. And I think that right now the world needs more Trishas.
Oh, bless you. All right. Well, everybody's saying that we should do a TV show or a podcast together. Who knows?
Who knows if we end up in that jungle? I'll see you soon. I love you.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Hi guys, if you like what you just watched, either hit the clips or subscribe down below.